And so as only the second person to serve in this office and serving 2 terms, what are you kind of reflecting on as your term comes to a close?
I came into this office with the hope and intent to try to help people and improve people's lives. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've been able to do. I'm very happy that the result of our 8 years has been some real impact on our residents throughout the community. Of course, when I came in, I didn't anticipate we'd have the worst healthcare crisis in our memory. Mm-hmm. A healthcare crisis that was not just local, but state and national with the pandemic. Thousands and thousands of people died. We were able to cope with that in Cuyahoga County, come through it, I think probably better than most counties around the country. We protected people, we protected businesses, we protected people's finances that helped keep people in their homes. And as a result, at this point, we're coming out stronger and better than we entered.
And then what was behind the decision to not run again for a 3rd term?
I love the job. And I wake up every morning and I think about what we're going to do to help people today. And it's very satisfying for me. Mm-hmm. But it's a very stressful job, and it takes me away from my family. I work very hard at this job. I work 24/7. And as a result, I don't get to spend as much time with Amy, my wife. Mm-hmm. And we have 2 grandkids in Boston, and I really can't take a lot of time to go visit. So I intend to change that in the coming year.
Wonderful. And that was leading into my next question, which is, do you have an idea of what will be next for you? Do you plan to continue with politics?
I don't know what comes next. Mm-hmm. As I said, I get a lot of satisfaction out of helping people, out of tikkun olam. I take that very seriously. Mm-hmm. So I will say that I will probably do something which continues in the realm of public service, but how I'm going to go about that, I have no clue yet.
And so then after 8 years, there's been many ups and downs, many of those ups which you discussed in your last State of the County address. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what accomplishments you're most proud of, or what has been the most rewarding aspect of the office?
Sure. I'm most proud of the way we handled the pandemic. Mm-hmm. This is something, now looking back, it's easy to use hindsight, but at the time we didn't know what to expect. We just knew people were getting sick everywhere. We knew some people were getting very sick. Many people were going into the hospitals, and many people were dying. So we knew we had to do something. We have a great Board of Health for the county. I worked super closely with Terry Allen and his staff at the Board of Health. We set up the Emergency Operations Center, which is a facility, a county facility, which brings basically all the main players together. We stood that up where the first responders attend, and the hospitals attend, and the county and the city. Everybody's involved. Coordinating efforts, which is very important. You don't want to miss things or duplicate things in the midst of an emergency. We were getting requests right and left for personal protective equipment, whether it be sanitizer or gloves or face masks. Everybody needed it because we did know that a lot of that was critical to keep people healthy. You could go to the store and, people again forget, the shelves were empty of these things. You couldn't find sanitizer. You couldn't find masks. And so I personally got on the telephone for a week solid, calling people I know all over the country to try to get leads. Where can we get these personal protective equipment items? we were being told that they weren't available, one, and two, that we should just sit and wait because the national stockpile was going to open up and that would provide plenty of items. Well, we couldn't wait. There were people dying, and you can't sit by during that. So, as I said, we went out, got leads. My staff was tremendous. They followed up on every lead. They gathered personal protective items. They purchased it. They got contributions, all sorts of ways. And we ended up collecting and distributing 27 million items of personal protective equipment, which is more than any other county our size. The national stockpile did eventually open up months later, and there was nothing in it. So, it was a good thing we didn't sit and wait. We were able to provide PPE to police, fire, EMS, teachers, nurses, doctors, everybody that needed it. We were able to be out there helping. That was tremendous. We also, you may recall, there was a huge need to test people. There was a huge need to trace so that we could track down where else we should be providing help. And then when the vaccinations came out, there was a huge need to do that. The hospitals were tremendous in this area. They did a great job. But there were some areas of the county that were not getting what they needed. The fact of testing and tracing and vaccinations didn't reach to a number of the underserved areas. So we the county partnered with the Board of Health, and we partnered with a Metro Hospital, and we provided those services through churches and through Salvation Army and through other facilities in those neighborhoods to help save lives. And we did save lives. We cut the jail population in half, working with the sheriff and the prosecutors and the judges and the public defenders. It was a tremendous effort. By cutting the jail population in half, we were able to create space in the jail for isolation and for making sure that we're moving people in ways that could keep people safe. And while I will tell you, if you look at the media, you look at, back now through the archives, you can see thousands of prisoners around the country in prisons and jails died from COVID. We had one, because of the great program that we put in place, isolation and sequestering people to keep others safe. So congregate facilities, we did the same thing with homeless shelters. Homeless shelters were very much at risk here and around the country. We were able to move a lot of people out of the homeless shelters. We paid extra to family members to take in people who were without a home. We paid hotels. We moved people out of the homeless shelter into hotels all over the county to help, again, avoid the close quarters that happen in homeless shelters. And again, we were able to prevent a lot of illness and death throughout the county. The fact is that the pandemic is a one-time in a lifetime emergency, and I think we handled it very well. And I don't do it alone. We had help from throughout the county. Our staff was tremendous. The ones that I've mentioned to you, the other agencies and organizations have been tremendous. But Cuyahoga County came through. We also looked at, we will recall that businesses were shut down, just shut. And, how long can a small business in particular last without any revenue coming in? Not very long. So we made sure to identify businesses that were dying for some support, and we supported them. We provided funds to keep businesses alive. The New York Times came out with a headline saying, that we should all expect a tsunami of evictions because people, when the businesses are closed, weren't getting an income. People who were working there weren't getting an income. And many people live hand to mouth. They live month to month. So without income, good chance that they could fall behind on their rent and be evicted. We as Cuyahoga County already, as of this date, have provided something in the range of $110 million in rental assistance to people who needed it from the beginning of this pandemic. So we've been out there in all different ways, and I'm very proud of that. Kids were in school. Kids were told to go home, to study online from home. Well, that works if you have broadband, but a lot of people don't have broadband. A lot of kids didn't have any way to connect to the internet. We went out and we got hotspots, which were distributed through libraries to help kids. We went out and got laptops to distribute to kids. So we took some emergency measures so that kids could continue their education. And those hotspots and laptops were also available to adults that, when they're laid off from a job, how else do you find out where the jobs are that are still open? You have to go online. And again, if you don't have access to broadband, you're in trouble. So we made that available. And now we have partnered with the state of Ohio to create broadband. It's going to be available on an ongoing basis throughout the county. We focused on the suburbs, and the city of Cleveland is focusing on the city, and together we'll have covered the entire region with broadband. So I could go on and on. The things we've done during the pandemic and that are continuing to have an impact are huge, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that.
And then, as no one's really immune to criticism, you faced some of it with the FBI investigation and the county jail investigation. Can you tell me what it was kind of like to go through those investigations?
Obviously, it was very unsettling and disturbing, especially since they were, in my view, totally unfounded, unnecessary, and ultimately the result was that they didn't find anything. I'm sitting here today with you.
And so then, as you prepare to leave office, are there any regrets you may have, or more things that you wished you could have accomplished during your time?
There are always more things, and we've put the county in a great position to continue accomplishing great things. So when I came into office, we faced some serious financial challenges, and we addressed those immediately. Today, as we sit here, the county is in the best financial condition it's ever been. And I say that with great pride. The county has set a $125 million base, basically, for what we need as a reserve, which was a wise thing for the county to do. County Council did that before I came in. But we're right now well over that 125. We're probably looking at closing out this year with a $340 million reserve fund, which will make life a lot easier for the next administration, I can guarantee you that. But there's a lot of ongoing projects. So I mentioned the broadband, for example, throughout the county. We've done the work, but that still needs to be put in place, and that'll be going on. We've created a completely revised workforce program because we've retained or created over 20,000 new jobs in this county, which is very good. But you got to have people to fill those jobs. And one of the things that we've been focusing on is training. So we have revised the training system. We have brought together all the workforce funders, that include the Greater Cleveland Partnership and all the foundations and the City of Cleveland and others, brought them all together. And they have we've created together a workforce program which is already in place, already working, focusing on three major areas: manufacturing, IT, and healthcare. In addition, we're adding hospitality. And we are already focused, we've already been underway significantly with the manufacturing. And last year, I think the training was for about 500 or more people, got trained and placed in manufacturing. We're set to significantly increase that number by additional funding we've provided because it's working. So training is one of the things that's ongoing. I also have talked a lot about creating a microgrid here in Northeast Ohio. A microgrid would differentiate us from any place else in the country. A microgrid can guarantee that businesses, for example, businesses that want to come to Northeast Ohio will not lose their electricity, their power, for more than 5 minutes in a year. 5 minutes. Right now you're looking at all kinds of strains on the electric grid, whether it be cyber attacks, or whether it be heat, or whether it be tornadoes or hurricanes or other things. Cities around the country, around the world, are losing power for minutes, hours, and days. If we can provide that energy is reliable, that electricity will be reliable here in Northeast Ohio, should be a tremendous way to attract business. And we can do that, and we will do that. We've already created our own utility for the county, and we're in the process of moving it forward so that we can create microgrids. We have another great asset here in Northeast Ohio. It's called water. If you look at what's going on around, especially south and west of the United States, they're in a drought that's been going on for 1,000 years or more. And you know, you see the pictures, you see rivers drying up, you see lakes drying up and disappearing. We don't have that problem. In California, they're imposing limits on how much water you can use. You can't take showers every day if you don't want to. Well, picture a business that requires huge quantities of fresh water. There are many of those businesses out there, whether it be steel or chemical or food processing. There's all kinds of businesses, chip making, that require huge quantities of fresh water. They should not be doing business in the west or south. They should be doing business here in Cleveland, in Cuyahoga County, and we're going to be going out there and informing businesses this is the place to come. If you combine the water and the microgrids, we become a tremendous magnet for new businesses, and I'm looking forward to that in the next administration. I think that will happen. We have created a new and much fairer criminal justice system here. We have found that we have many people in the jail that are there with mental health and addiction problems. That's the reason that they're there. And a jail should not be where people with mental health and addiction problems have to come. But it's become almost a dumping ground for people in that category. And not just here, but all over the country. Again, it's something that's being faced everywhere. We have created the first diversion center in Ohio. And it's up and running. What it does is it provides that police officers, it trains police officers as to what are the signs of mental health and addiction. And for somebody who's not violent, who's committed a minor crime or no crime, but is at risk or creating risks for others, the police can take them to the diversion center instead of to the jail. They avoid getting booked as a criminal. They can get the training at the diversion center, and then longer term, the diversion center will provide for community referral. And that way we're keeping people productive. We're making people much more productive than they could possibly be put in jail. The diversion center will miss some people. There will be some people that still go to jail that shouldn't be there. That's where central booking comes in. We've created a second system called central booking that will pick those people up within a day or two of their entry into the jail, of their booking. And again, they don't have to be there long term. They don't have to lose their families and their jobs and everything else. And we'll immediately get them referred to the diversion center or community treatment programs. So we're reforming criminal justice in ways that are very important. You may recall that we settled our opioid lawsuit. We were the first in the country. We received about $120 million as part of our settlement. The fact is that we looked at what was happening. We had become an opioid center here in Northeast Ohio. That's not acceptable. So first we went after the wrongdoers, the manufacturers and distributors that have helped create this problem. We were able to get a settlement. It's probably going to be one of the biggest settlements in the country. We've used that fund for providing treatment programs for people who have been sucked into the opioid crisis. But in addition, we just set up an opioid innovation fund, which will be funded initially by $5 million, and it will invite innovators, entrepreneurs to come to us with new products and new processes to be able to address opioid addiction before people get ill. We want to prevent opioid crisis continuing in this region, and there are things like Cleveland Clinic mentioned virtual reality goggles that you could put on and handle pain without using medications that can be addictive. So there's opportunities out there for us to become the opioid center for innovation and prevention. So there's lots of good things to look forward to in this county, and I'm a little sad I won't be here to do it, but we're turning it over to good people. Our county council has done a very nice job, and I have no doubt will continue.
And that leads perfectly into my next question, which was, as the office transitions to Chris Ronane's leadership, are there any words of advice you'd like to share to Chris or any other county executives in the future?
Words of advice to Chris Ronane and future executives. Yes, I would be happy to say, first wish him good luck. Make sure he hires great people. We have a great staff here. I hope he keeps on as many people as possible or brings in other great people because the leadership team is critical. You have to have a good leadership team to accomplish what we've been able to and what we're looking forward to happening. The other advice I would give him is listen. Listen to your team. Listen to the community. Be careful who you listen to because some people are not always out to help you. But evaluate what you're being advised and told and then be decisive. You have to move forward. It's easy to say, well, we'll address that next week or next month or next year. But you have people's lives at stake here. Even when it's not an epidemic, a pandemic, even if it's just dealing with people's education or kids at risk or dealing with whatever it could be. You need to move things. And unfortunately, sometimes government moves very slowly. And so the answer is yes, take your time, listen, but also be decisive.